Alrighty guys, welcome back indeed for more PoE. So in this part, we're going to go ahead and go over these new watchstone mechanics. There's going to be newer bosses to face, and we're basically just going to continuously do maps. However, first off, before showing you guys new content, I want to go ahead and give you guys kind of a rundown of what we've done in terms of gear and in the tree. Keep in mind, you don't have to copy the exact thing that I'm going for, because you might have gotten a lot more currency than I did. I only got one Exalted Orb so far, and we are currently level 86. We actually have a lot of life. We're actually going to be rescaling out of life because I feel like I'm relatively comfortable with my life currently in terms of how much we have. Like, ideally we could hit like over 5k once we start hitting about like 95-ish is where I pretty much consider like you're good enough at like that level. To push level 100 it takes a very long time, and you have to basically not die. And I do want to do bosses which are kind of relatively rippy regardless of how good your character is, especially if it's your first time, and that's totally okay. But basically we're just going to be continuously leveling up, continuously doing maps. So last time we got the ascendancy of the far shot, but later we're going to respec out of occupying force with the Mirage Archers. We're going to drop that out completely. As for some of the boss mechanics, it's not like necessarily bad, but like we can actually scale our DPS to be insanely high with focal point. And I also want to have Gathering Winds because it increases our attack speed and our move speed. So we'll eventually get focal point, and then we can respec out of this, and we can get Gathering Winds, which is going to grant us Tailwind. So later we're going to respec out of this. It just makes things much easier for the progression, to the point where we will still be able to absolutely destroy content with the addition of the Endless Munitions. So what it will come down to is we can respec out of this, we can get Endless Munitions and Focal Point, or we can get Gathering Winds. But it's kind of up to you. If you want to keep this, that's fine. It makes your map clear speed insanely fast, as you guys have seen. But technically on bosses, they can get a little bit longer if you don't have this. This thing is just absolutely insane with Tornado Shot. So in terms of the gear, again, keep in mind, you don't have to run the exact same things that I'm running, because depending on how many Chaos Orbs you're getting or Exalted Orbs, you get way better gear. I just didn't really get that lucky so far on my maps, but I eventually will get some better gear. You know, it just takes time and progression to get more currency. Currently, the thing that I want is going to cost like over 100 of these, and that's going to take a long time. I did, however, get an Exalted Orb, which at the time of me purchasing this, it was less than an Exalt. This was 70 Chaos Orbs, and at the moment, the Exalted Orbs are going for 70, or I'm sorry, they're going for about 80. So I bought it for 70, but they're going for 80, so that's about what you might be able to hopefully get a 6-link Hope Shredder with maybe a corruption, like a decent corruption on it. However, you can also get a 6-socketed 5-link Hope Shredder, throw it into the Crucible, and hope that the Stitch Wounds will give it to you. That's a cheaper way to do it. However, it's random. It basically, you get like 3 chances to do it at 15%. Doesn't really equal 45 technically, but you get 3 rolls at 15%. That's if it doesn't go down also in the sockets. But if it has a negative modifier that, like, you know, it's like minus cold resistance or whatever, it's okay. But if it says you can't deal cold damage, then it's like bricked, which is unfortunate, but it can happen, which would maybe force you to go swap to like something damage converted to whatever, which is something you can consider. But basically, if you can get a 6-link bow, feel free to go for it. It doesn't have to be Hope Shredder, but this is just one that at the moment I'm currently using. It just was really cheap for like what it offered. This is a new armor. It's not super expensive. Let me actually check the price of it right now, because I believe I paid 20 for this, but prices again fluctuate all the time. So I'm going to go to Here's Ire, we're going to go to the PoE.trade website, and I'll go over some other things for you guys. So Here's Ire, it's like 7. It's super cheap. 8. As time goes on, oh, there's a 5-link one. It's a tier 3 though. Oh, this is a really bad modifier. Never deal critical strikes, you don't want that. However, I want to say for 9 chaos, if you picked it up now, it's fine. We're not really scaling that much into the a crit right now, and we could purchase one later down the line. For a 5-link, it's okay in terms of the price, but it all depends on what you want to do. Keep in mind, you don't have to follow this exactly, but so rocking the Worm Sign, this grants you Rampage, which significantly clears the clear speed a lot faster. Nothing really important here. We got Ice Shot damage, but we're using Tornado Shot like I mentioned before. we eventually go into Tornado Shot, which I'll show you and I'll explain how it kind of works once we get into the boss fights. But I wanted to go ahead and go over like the gear choices, just getting some life and some resistances anywhere we can. Eventually we're going to be dropping these boots and getting some boots that have an additional curse, and we're going to get Asenath Chant, which is very expensive, but it will be way better. Still not really having too good of luck with getting really expensive gear. Other than this would be like the only thing that's considered like pretty decent, but it's not going to make a huge difference. It's getting that like extra cold damage at the moment. Like it will matter later down the line when we start scaling way higher in the damage zone. Like all the damage we scaled gets multiplied by our crit multiplier. But feel free to go ahead and keep on farming. You could do heists, you can keep on doing maps, and like I said, I'll show you guys these boss fights in a moment. But I also want to bring to attention this website. So this is a website called PoE.ninja, and I'll link it down below in the pinned comment. But right now, in terms of the top 4 builds for the DPS in terms of Tornado Shot, keep in mind, sometimes people do weird things for DPS in here later down the line. Early on, people will kind of want to survive, but people will do weird things. Don't always think that I have to sort it by DPS, but a lot of times when people look at a build, they're like, how fast can you clear stuff, right? That's what people generally will look at in terms of like a successful build. They check out like how much damage is it dealing. If you want to, you can check out what people are running. This is going to be pretty much best in slot for most people right now, and like I said, it's a super cheap item. However, later down the line, we're going to be getting something that's going to have a double influence. What that means is we're going to get an additional curse on our chest, as well as maybe extra crit. There's a lot of different things. We'll talk about that later, because it's going to be way too expensive to afford right now. But basically, this is going to be a really good armor for you. In terms of our bow, there's 2 different options you can go for. You can start scaling to be a dexterity stacker, which you're going to get items that will grant you damage per 10 dexterity on a bow. This can be very expensive. I probably wouldn't recommend even thinking about this now, because this is like easily like 7 or 8 exalts minimum to craft. And then for the helm, some people are running Fractal Thoughts. This will give you extra dexterity increase. So this person is running a dexterity stacker. This is a really good amulet. It's very expensive. I had it in my last build, but eventually we can get this. It's not bad, but if we start scaling brittle, we actually cannot chill or freeze the enemies, so this would actually not be as good for that reason. But you can go to this website, and right now I'm basically just giving you guys the info here. I'm not going to go over every single piece of gear and what you're getting. Basically just life resistance and elemental damage is what you're getting with like taming in terms of the rings. But there's nothing too special that I do need to mention. And if you do look at these builds, they also have their tree right here. You can click on the link to passive tree and it'll bring you to the official website. Now with the new mastery system, this doesn't actually show up correct for whatever reason. Like you can't mouse over and it won't tell you the correct one. So you have to actually read right here what the masters are, but it tells you all of the links and all of the gems that they are using. So eventually, Steel Skin, I like Steel Skin because it gives us bleed immunity, but alternatively you can get an Immortal Call specifically at level 4, and then also cast when damage taken level 4. That's what a lot of people are doing towards the end of the game. If you want bleed immunity, stick with the Steel Skin, because that's what it does offer you, and it can just remove it, and sometimes you don't even notice that you're bleeding, and it just procs it, and it is a really nice thing to have. But they are also running an alternate quality of a gem, but that doesn't really matter too much. It just changes the attack speed versus like damage. It's not that big of a deal. But this is what some people are running. All of the Awakened gems are going to be way too expensive. Don't even think about buying right now, unless you're super rich. You know, that can be an option. But yeah, they'll have all the passive trees and everything. So this is one of them over here. This is more so what I want to run, and is basically within the past few days I've been checking again and again like what's the best build, and it is using exactly what I wanted to run, which is Tornado and Hydrosphere together, which is something that comes from this helmet. This helmet is super expensive. If we go to the PoE Trader website, you can see it's 1.5 Exalt, 135 chaos. It's not cheap, but the reason why this helmet is so amazing is it automatically casts your stuff, so you don't even have to cast your Hydrosphere, you don't have to cast Tornado, it just does it automatically. It's huge. Then we'll also have Sniper's Mark again. This is going to be something later that's going to make Tornado Shot even more insane. Don't even bother with this belt, it's super expensive, but like it is one of the best belts for like clearing speed. It's called Headhunter. It's like it's usually about 100 exalts, which is basically like you give it almost like a conversion of at the moment maybe like 1,000 or 800 chaos orbs. Like it's not viable to buy this right now. This is another good item. It gives you extra projectiles during the flask effect. So if this is cheap, feel free to buy that. There's also a jewel called Lionized Fall that we can get, but I don't want to talk about that now because I'm not scaling crit yet, as I just want to, I think we get more value right now for not scaling crit because our crit multi and crit isn't that high, and right now getting any gear with crit multi is usually very expensive, but we'll worry about that later down the line as things generally get a little bit cheaper as people get like their better gear and they sell off their old gear because they just want to like move it away. But this is another person, he's in top DPS too. These are all the top 4 that I'm just showing off. Again, they're doing the exact same thing that I wanted to do, which is Hydrosphere as well as the Tornado and Sniper's Mark. You can put it here, you can put it somewhere else. I basically just use it for bosses. You can throw in other things in the Hydrosphere combo. We'll talk more about that later because, again, most people probably won't be able to afford this. I can't even afford it. We're talking like hours and hours of extra gameplay to get to this. But like I said, this is very, very viable in terms of another bow that you can get is Arborix. It gives you additional arrows if you haven't cast Dash recently. So again, it's more so when you get to the bosses, you start using this. But again, all these things will be, you just scroll down, and again, you just go to PoE.ninja, sort by DPS, and you'll see, keep in mind, like, you know, if you're watching this video a day or two later, they could fluctuate. But basically what I want to build is going to be a top build, because I already knew it. Like, I already know Tornado and Hydrosphere are insane with Tornado Shot. This is also another decent item called Void Fletcher. Let me see if I can actually... let's see, Void. It does go a lot cheaper eventually. You can get like bad corrupted ones. Let's see. Okay, it's still relatively. These will go down in price as time goes on, for sure. Again, like I said before, a lot of times it's people rolling off older gear and you get like a bad corruption that does absolutely nothing. This is also a decent flask, but check out what other people are going for. You don't have to always just rely on me, and I want you guys to be able to feel comfortable. But in terms of our tree with the Crucible, one thing that I will definitely recommend getting is Warped Sluice. This one's good, and then the extra Crucible slot is really great. I think we got that before in our play session, but I'm just rolling some stuff over here and just continue on. And you can use their passive tree. You can, if you want mine kind of for reference, this is what we've done. I believe the last time we played, I haven't spec'd out over here. I'm going to unspec out of this, that's why I didn't like go for it. As I feel like I'm way overtuned with life, I'm going to be dropping this entire section of the tree, and I'll probably drop this as well once we start going for crit. Right now it's totally fine because I want enough life to take big hits so I don't die during boss fights, and I will start scaling spell suppression. So currently right now, in terms of like our tree, we have spell suppression at 75. You can get a easy 10 right here by getting the 10% chance to suppress spell damage if your boots, helmet, and gloves have evasion. Right now, that totally is going to be something that does check out. So we'd be okay on that. We could spec out for that. We get additional, like, I think it was like 20, let's see, was it 12? What is that, 18? Yeah, we get over 20, and then this, the other node will give us 30, which is way over what we need. So I just need to spec into this, and then I'll unspec out of this because this also gives me 10. But like, basically, we're going to be getting maxed out spell suppression. So it's a 100% chance. So basically, we take half from the spell damage completely. And eventually there is a new armor that I do want to get to test out. It's going to lower our DPS, but it gives us 100% of damage recouped as life, which is really insane, but it's over a duration. So that means we take a big damage. Because we scale evasion, hopefully we won't get hit again. And during that duration, we're just going to start regenerating all of our life, and it's going to be awesome. But I'm not even sure how expensive that thing is. There wasn't even any on the market. Sometimes with new items, it's like a new mechanic and people haven't gotten to it. I've actually, at this point, I've already killed one of the newer bosses, and I'll show you guys gameplay of all of the new bosses. They are quite tough. The reason why they're tough, though, is not because, like, they can like do lots of damage. It's because you have to kill them so fast because there's just not enough time when you warp into the nightmare realm. But anyways, let's go ahead and show off some more gameplay. But yeah, here's the tree that we currently have. You don't have to go this route because I'm going to unspec out of it, and you can use Orb of Regrets, and you can actually do some of the quests. And in fact, if you want to go back and do some of the quests in the game, some of them will give you skill points, resets, not skill points, because obviously I'm going to show you guys all those. But a dirty job will give you some refund points. There's a lot of quests that will give you refund points, so don't think you have to spend your Orb of Regrets. But yeah, like I said, In terms of the build and stuff, don't worry if you don't have any of the pieces of gear and you're like, I'm still kind of gearing up. But make sure you try to prioritize getting a 6-link. That could be a chest piece that doesn't have to... Getting a 6-link, this will be super expensive. So just get a 6-link. Could just be like anything with like life and resistances. They could be relatively cheap in terms of like a corrupted one. But just try to get the socket colors that you want. Currently what we're running though, just as a heads up, is I'm running Tornado Shot, Greater Multiple Projectiles, Elemental Damage with Attack Support, and Inspiration. And then added cold damage support as well as Mirage Archer. Like I said, we can drop Mirage Archer, and if you're feeling like your DPS isn't really that great, you can drop Mirage Archer. The reason why is Mirage Archer is kind of a more of an advanced skill, like as in you need to know how to position and make sure you have 3 Mirage Archers while you can still maintain more distance, because I did spec out for the more damage when we are further away, and it's a little bit hard sometimes for the Mirage Archers to even bother shooting. But what happens is you want it to target another enemy and then basically hit where it would not normally register to get more like viability, because we did get far shot. But again, later you can unspec out of this. Keep in mind these are going to be 5 each to respec out of, but you can respec out of this. You can get this. We definitely want to get this. So this is 100% we get this. I would say the most important ones, honestly, are going to be Ricochet, Endless Munitions, and then Focal Point. Focal Point is so insane. But again, I don't like to manually cast Sniper's Mark on every single enemies, because unlike a normal curse, which curses the entire area, Sniper Mark just curses 1, and you have to do it again and again. So basically, it makes your clear speed for like the trash mobs. It doesn't really help out unless it's on an auto cast, or you have certain items that when the enemy is slain, it transfers the mark. There's other ways to do it, but it's not really worth investing into right now. We'll talk more about Sniper's Mark when we do our final lab, which will be inside of the map. So keep on slamming max. Let's roll some gameplay of the Watchstones, and I'll show you guys kind of like the ins and outs of the mechanic, and I'll explain the Tornado Shot with the Hydrosphere and the overlap and everything. So let's roll that. Alright, welcome back indeed. So as we progress on the maps, eventually you'll start seeing like either some sort of thing on the floor, and it'll say pursue this person. So Zana will eventually come up in the maps. You can't miss her. You'll end up, it'll have like an exclamation mark, and you click on her. And sometime you'll notice when you kill a boss, you'll be able to go to an area, and what will happen is it's going to like show off one of these little like region things. This is the thing I was talking about, where you're going to be putting in these stones. So what you're going to do is you're going to, at some point, it'll say pursue something. It'll be right in the middle of the screen. You can't really miss it. You'll talk to Kyrak. He'll lock an area so you can't like put in more watchstones in it. And then you'll have to talk to Zana. So she'll be defaulted somewhere in your hideout. Might not be like to the left of it, but it'll be somewhere in your hideout. You talk to her, and you're going to travel to the Barons Citadel. And this is only going to be a tier 3, so it'll be relatively easy. But this is going to be different. So it's just like the normal map, but at the very end, you'll be fighting a boss, and after you defeat the boss, there's going to be a portal. Now, in terms of like my items, I'll kind of go over that, because that's kind of important too. I won't go over it real in depth. I didn't get anything super new, except for I got a 6-link cost breeze. I paid 30 chaos for it. You can get a 5-link cost breeze for maybe relatively cheap that has 6 sockets, and then use one of the near forms of currency. A lot of people are doing this. It's kind of popular to do it. It's random though. It's going to either go to a 4-link or a 6-link. I'm not sure what the exact chance are, but a lot of people are saying it's 50-50 to either add a link or remove it. I don't know the numbers on it. Keep in mind, like, this league just came out. But you can try your luck. People are saying it's 50-50, and at that point you get like 3 tries versus just buying it. I'd rather just buy it personally, but I got a pretty good deal on it. But there were multiple that I've seen for like 30 chaos orbs. Right now a lot of items are relatively cheap because of this like mechanic, and also putting it inside of the crucible and then RNGing 6. We already actually did it once with the bow. Not this bow, but one of the bows that we were using before. And then we ended up selling that. But nothing really other than this 6-link. And what I did is I put it in added cold damage support and the hypothermia support. Now that I got the dotaries, I no longer need the ice bite to generate my frenzy charge. But let's go and do the map, and then at the very end we'll get a watchstone, and I'll show you how that actually works, because it's actually really weird how it works. It's not really explained, I would say, well enough. I would say it's kind of confusing, but you're just going to complete the map, and since my character has gotten better, I want to show you guys how fast the character's gotten. But it's a tier 3 map, so it will be fast regardless. And I still want to do the league mechanic. So you'll see we're able to clean up content super fast. This build, it's awesome. I'm super happy with it. But we don't even have brittle. And once we get that brittle, and I keep on mentioning it, there is another way to get brittle. Although I probably won't end up getting the mechanic via this helmet. It has a 25% chance to brittle, but I'd rather have a 100% chance to brittle. Even though it's really not that big of a deal, it's just that the other way is a lot more free, because this method that we get brittle, there's a helmet. I'll go over the name of it because I don't know off the top of my head, but it's a chance to inflict brittle. It's a 25% chance. But yeah, you'll just go to the area. It's random on the area sometimes that you'll get, but it'll be the same. It'll just be pursue whatever person I'm trying to warp up here, but it's just not like, it's not letting me. But these bosses have a mechanic. Each one of them is a little bit different. Alright, let's go down here. And I love the Mirage Archers so much for this like mechanic of just being able to shoot once and then they clean up everything else. That could be maybe it's like too far away or whatever the case may be. Another thing I've noticed though, when you're in this nightmare area, you cannot summon the bosses. Like the bosses just won't come out to fight you. But look at this. We like just exited this thing and now we're right back in it. It's insane how good the Mirage Archers are for this. And towards the very end, if you notice there's no density, just hit the button. Look at this. It's already back up because the Mirage Archers are all over the place just shooting them. So here's the boss. Just, was that not the boss? Oh, it's right here. So boss, he'll be a little more tanky, but we'll get him down. And since we have that far shot, we're going to try to stay farther away. Also, you'll see that there's these squares. Stay away from them. There's also these snakes that pop out. So once you kill them, you'll see there's a portal that you can go in. And this is going to be the Baron. So each one of these boss fights has its own mechanic. This one, you just don't stand on the squares that are colored. So right now, we don't have any colored squares. Some of that Hydrosphere. I can't wait till we get that like Tornado Hydrosphere. It just makes the whole game so much faster. So don't stand on any of the ones where they're like, you know, it's kind of like a blue. If you stand far away, you'll be fine. I'm gonna resummon my golem over here. And dash through because we're not really like, seeing him. And that move, it takes a while for it to activate, but since we have like the chill and the temp chains, like he's in slow motion, man. It's like playing this game on like easiest mode, like beginner mode. But yeah, these guys generally won't go down very fast unless your build is like really, really powerful, which ours will get there, but we still haven't gotten anything insane yet. They just have a lot of HP. Throw a Hydrosphere down. So there's this big like slam attack. And that will probably one-shot you if it does hit you. So be very cautious on that one. The other like ranged attacks, they probably won't one-shot you, so. But still try not to get hit by them. So look how slow his attacks are. It's because he's slowed so many dang times via the chains.
Look at this guy.
There we go. Took us a while actually to defeat him, but they've been. Well, they nerfed a lot of the damage last league, and I'm still leveling up my gems, so we'll be a lot more powerful later. But the important part is we're going to get a Watchstone. Now, depending on which boss you fight, it's random. I'll try to show all of them, but that's the Baron. There's several of these. And so what you do with the Watchstone altar, because one of these will pop up as you just keep on like playing maps that you haven't done. Make sure you try to prioritize doing the maps that you haven't done. I just have a bunch ready to go here. And I'll show you another like tactic that can be quite great. So now I put this Watchstone over here, and it's going to change the maps. So you'll see that this map is now a tier 9 map. that will show up. It kind of depends on which ones you've completed, but it's going to upgrade the usually it'll go from tier 1 to 2, but like it depends on like which map that you happen to like buy off of someone or go. You can get like higher ones, but pretty much it just comes down to rolling a higher tier of maps. So now these are going to be tier 4 maps in this like quadrant. So you'll see over here, this is Haywark Hamlet. If you just keep on rolling maps in the same area, ideally you can just roll multiple maps and try to do them all at once. Like you keep on doing Spider Force until it says pursue this person, and then you'll pursue them. But pretty much that's the mechanic of the Watchstone. And you might notice if you put in something into the map device, when you go in, it'll say like, this Watchstone is too low to attract the Conqueror. And that just means, it doesn't mean you can't do the map, it just means that the Conqueror won't be attracted to it. You do several maps in that region. So this is Haywark Hamlet, this is Waldo's Rest. Each one of these represents a quadrant, and as you progress, you're going to make your map, your atlas, a higher tier. So these maps will be dropping at a higher number, so they'll be a little bit more difficult. You also can get what's called influence items, and influence items can have certain things that items would not be able to get that can be very powerful. Ideally, for us, the cool thing that we could get, it's kind of expensive right now, but getting a chest piece that has, you can apply additional curse. They're very, very, very expensive right now, but later they'll be cheap. We're just going to be literally looking for a 6-link one that has additional curse, high evasion, and then as well as life and resistances. Ideally, you get what's called a double influence item, and they can have like additional crit, base crit of like 2%, which is actually like pretty big, but with brittle, we get way better value for the price of getting a double influence item, especially in the very beginning. But another thing I did want to go over, because now we're going to go kind of more over like tips for just in general, but I'll try to show you guys all the different boss fights. But I mentioned certain things that had quality. Let me move my face out of the way. So I had a lot of tabs that I would just dump items in it, and I would worry about it later. So I'm going to type in the word quality. If there's anything that has quality, you see how there's 7%, 8%. If it's 20%, you can get a Gem Cutter's Prism for it. But if it's not, you can still get Gem Cutter's Prism if it adds up to, I believe it's 40%. So if I put in 1, I just get this. So that's 8, 7, 6, 15, 17, and now I get a Gem Cutter's Prism, and then I get like some Scrolls of Fragment if it like goes overboard. I believe it's 40 though. Let me see. Okay, so I need specifically like this, and then it gives you a little bit more, but then you just keep on putting more in until you get like the right amount. If it's giving you these, you're over by a certain amount. But that's one way you can get this. Like for example, this is okay to do it in. Some of these you can sell if it has 20 quality though. I'm just gonna do this so you can see it. And then if it has 20 quality, you can automatically get one for it. You can also sell these, and I'm gonna use my little scanner tool. So generally how it will work is a 20% quality. Since it's worth 1 via the vendor, you can sell it to a player for maybe 2 Chaos Orbs. Like if I scan this, it'll tell me this is worth 2 Chaos Orbs. This one is 8%, but it can roll over 20% as a drop. And then those can be worth a lot more. You can get corrupted ones that are like over level 20, because 20 is like considered the max for most gems. There are like kind of exception to these rules with awakened gems, but that's like one mechanic that does also exist. And what these gems are used for is upgrading your gems. So like this would get maybe like say like 1% more elemental damage, or you get extra duration on something depending on what the gem is. Generally they'll make it better. So once you get your gem up to level 20, you can actually give it to the vendor, and I'll show you the vendor recipe once we get to it, and you'll be able to get a level 20 gem and convert it into a level 1 gem, but it will have 20 quality. So then you re-level the whole thing up again. Actually, I went through the portal there. But yeah, that's basically what you're going to be doing, is collecting these Watchstones, and you're going to be fighting these bosses. Eventually, you're going to fight these bosses again and again, and then there's going to be Cirrus that comes out. Now, he can drop what's called Awakened Gems that are way more powerful, and that's basically the way that most people will be getting them. You can trade for them as well, but that's the way you get Awakened Gems. So pretty much your whole goal is to grind out a lot more maps, get those watch zones, and then you kind of just keep on grinding. It's like a very long process, and some people just like to get to maps and they consider that the end game, but there is a few set of new bosses that I like to defeat, and then from there on out, like, that's where I consider, okay, I'm happy with this league. I wait till the next like expansion comes out so I can fight the new bosses. But I haven't fought all the new bosses yet. I've encountered one, but like they're basically teasers. You're not really going to be able to kill them early on. They can randomly spawn in when you activate the nightmare. I did find one. I'll end up getting the gameplay of killing them, but like it's just that we don't have the damage now, and I don't think you're supposed to be able to have the damage when you get to white maps to kill these bosses, but they're insanely powerful. But pretty much, again, you're just looking for some more gear. I'll show you my tree and kind of what I plan to do. So I do want to get the SNS Chant helmet, and once we get some energy shield on our character, we can maybe even get Shadow Stitch. Ghost Dance is actually looking pretty good as a notable. Then I would probably path up here. We have Whispers of Doom. I was thinking about just going in there and just grabbing it, then I can have another Anoint. But if I'm going over here for Ghost Dance, I just need 2 more points in, and then I can get Energy Shield and Life. That's pretty good. But right now, because I don't have that, and keep in mind, depending on what kind of gear you get, you can determine on where you want to go. But right now, I'm just going to start scaling life. I feel like my damage, as you guys saw from the gameplay, with the exception of the boss, like the bosses, you're not going to just 2-shot or or melt them like I was melting the rest of the content. It's just how this game is. Until you get really, really insane gear. So right now we're just trying to get this life node. I'm going to get this spell suppression node, and then maybe some more life down here as well. And there's actually some jewel sockets. There's extra resistances here, which I can plan to get, and then I can get rings that are a lot like worse in a way, because these rings definitely need to be replaced. This one at least has life. Try to get chaos resistance, multiple resistances, and life, and then like either physical damage, because we convert physical to cold with our ice shot, or just cold damage. Either one's going to be a nice little buff. But yeah, the ring absolutely needs to be replaced. And we're going to try to shoot for maybe around 4.5 to 5k life, and then we'll be relatively good with spell suppression when we get our Ire armor, which gives us another 30%. Spell suppression is 50% of the damage taken from spells when you get 100%. Right now, our spell suppression is on our defenses. Well, I don't have this node yet, but I have 50% right now. So that means there's a 50% chance on any of the spells that hit us to we just take half damage. We're gonna get to 100%, so everything is halved. And then right now our physical mitigation is really good. We have our Granite Flask, especially for like a evasion-based character. Right now we have 61%, so basically a little bit less than half the attacks we even go through. But if they do, depending if it hits for physical or not, we can activate this and this. I know this flask like reduces our life by a little bit, but we have almost 50% physical damage mitigation just with like very, very little investment of just 2 flasks, and I think it's worth it. We'll end up upgrading these later too, but for now, that's what I wanted to show you in this part of the video. Alrighty guys, so pretty much what it comes down to for this part is there's still more watchstones to go ahead and get. You're going to get multiple of these, and you're going to start socking them all in, and it's going to increase the map tier. The map tiers, as you go up in difficulty, you'll also notice the awakening bonus goes up. So it wants you to do it on a harder difficulty, or it'll say like do this on a corrupted map with like a certain difficulty. It gets harder and harder, and if you're not able to keep up with like the gear, you feel like you're dying too much, what it really comes down to is perhaps your resistances. I'll talk more about gear in the next part, but as you progress, chaos resistance will start to hurt more and more, just in the very beginning, because I know a lot of people don't have currency, and stuff with chaos resistance tends to be a little bit more expensive. We'll talk a little bit more about the tree in the next part of our play session as far as gear goes. Keep in mind, sometimes when I upload these, I do have parts that like I might be like a higher level, then it might be a lower level. It's just because the way I try to structure it is for beginner players to be able to understand certain mechanics, and sometimes I have to get that piece of content later, if that makes sense, and then I have to like kind of insert it at a time point where I feel like it's appropriate to explain the mechanic, and that's just the nature of PoE. There's just so much RNG towards the end game of the maps, and like I can't control what maps you're going to be getting as a drop. I can't control like how much currency you have, but eventually you will be up there. And keep in mind, if you type in this word /played, it'll tell you how many like hours you've been playing. At this point, we're at level 89, and we've been playing for 1 day, 18 hours, and obviously time will go up as we progress. So it's not like in part 12, the next part, you can go follow part 13 or whatever. You're just going to basically grind out these maps again and again. You're going to throw in these watchstones and you're going to increase the difficulty. And we'll show off the rest of the bosses and their mechanics in the next part, but I also want to go over the equipment in the next part, as that's pretty important. But anyways, that's going to go ahead and wrap it for this part. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like on it. I'll see you guys in the next part very soon. Take care. I'm out for this part. Peace.